morning and welcome to this week's edition of Marquette in Motion. We're your hosts, Hallie Kilberg
and Miranda Peters. And just like Angeli Moore, Liam Tracy, and Kinley Munns, let's slide right into today's show. FYI, Angeli, Liam, and Kinley were our Lucky Cole Park raffle winners, who this morning at 10 o'clock were the first children to christen the 3 new slides at Cole Park.
If you haven't had a chance to see the new layout and playground equipment at Cole Park, you may want to come to the center of town to check it out. Tuesday evening, before Marquette's elementary open house, may be the perfect time to do so. Justina will be here in segment 2 to tell us more about Marquette's open house event.
After that, the boys will be here with all of the newest sports updates.
And in segment 3, Luke will be here interviewing our new 3rd grade teacher, Miss Haley Lampy.
And then, to end the show, Macy and Amy will be shedding some light, thanks for letting us use your surname for the segue, Ms. Lampy, on the upcoming events to take place at Marquette this week.
So let's get right to the show. This year, there is a new faculty leader at the helm of the Marquette Catholic Student Council.
That's right, listeners. Longtime Student Council faculty head, Mrs. Karen Timmerman, has turned over the reins to her colleague down the hall, Mr. Jim Hollinsby.
Marquette Student Council is a very active student organization and is responsible for many activities throughout the year.
Those activities include the lemonade stand at Cole Park during 4th of July, fall and spring blood drives, the annual chicken dinner, our homecoming dinner, dance, and entertainment, a teacher appreciation meal, Relay for Life, and numerous other events throughout the year.
Now with the new school year comes a new president, and Marquette's student body president just happens to be one of Marquette in Motion's own, Jeb Schwager.
Jeb is here with us today. Okay, well, he's here with us every week for the show, but for today, we're bringing him into the first segment to enlighten us and tell us a bit more about his plans for Student Council this upcoming year.
Hi, Jeb. Thanks for joining us in segment 1 today. So, first of all, what is your role as student body president?
As student body president, I kind of head meetings for the student council and then kind of just take a leadership role in student council when organizing fundraisers and different events around school.
What do you feel most passionate about in this new role?
Being a leader on student council, I'm really passionate about being an example, kind of leading by example to the rest of student council as well as the rest of the school.
As we mentioned earlier in the show, Mr. Hollinsby took over the council this year, a position held by Mrs. Timmerman for quite a while. What are your thoughts on the new faculty head?
I think it's going well so far. Mr. Hollinsby's lead is definitely different than Mrs. Timmerman's. But I think with Mr. Hollinsby as the head, it'll help now as well as in the future to bring new ideas to the table.
Are there any new Student Council initiatives this year, or is there anything that Student Council is currently organizing?
Yes, we actually have started a water bottle fundraiser. We are selling Marquette water bottles to the rest of the student body. This is new, and with how it's turned out so far, it looks like it may be something we could do every year.
So, how did the Student Council come up with the idea of selling water bottles?
Well, there was a slight rule change in high school this year that water bottles brought into classrooms had to be clear, see-through material. And so there's not many students that had that type of water bottle. So we decided to jump on the idea, and we got red see-through water bottles and sold them from there.
And finally, what are you most excited for about the upcoming year on the council?
Well, homecoming is a big part of what student council plans. We've already done a lot of the reservations and work on the theme and stuff, and I'm really excited to put that into action.
Well, thanks for being here, Jeb, and we'll hear more from you in just a bit.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Marquette in Motion after the break. Welcome back to Marquette in Motion. Here now is Justina Denlinger, here to inform you on the Marquette Open House.
On Tuesday, September 18th, Marquette will be hosting their annual elementary open house from 6:30 to 7:30. This is an exciting time for students in preschool to 5th grade to show off what they have been working on since the school year began. It is also an exciting time for parents to share in the joy their child has for learning, and is also a time for teachers to share their classroom. This year is especially exciting as new classrooms will look much different from the first day of school because students have now been able to decorate classrooms and make the learning space their own. Everyone is invited to come to attend Marquette's open house. The event will begin in the MEC with a prayer and introductions by Mr. Kaiser, and cookies and punch will be provided by Marquette's PTO. We hope to see you Tuesday night. For Marquette in Motion, this has been Justina Denninger.
Thanks, Justina. Up next are Jeb and Garrett with the Marquette Sports Report.
Thanks, Hallie. To start out the past week in sports, the Marquette cross-country teams traveled to Wyoming, Iowa. That is on Monday, September 10th.
Here, Hallie Kilber brought home another first-place finish, and the girls' team placed first in the meet. The high school guys' team finished 7th as a team.
The Marquette volleyball team took on Central City Thursday night, September 13th. They won in 4 sets. Their next game will be against the Cedar Valley Christians next Tuesday night, September 18th.
Shifting gears to another type of sport, Marquette was well represented at the state livestock judging contest back in August. The Jackson County area took 4 teams, and there was at least one Marquette student on each.
The team, which represented Bellevue FFA, took second place and qualified for the national contest in Denver, Colorado this upcoming January.
This team was made up of Marquette students Brooklyn Moore, Miranda Peters, and Jeb Schwager, as well as a public school student, Nick Deppie. For Marquette in Motion, this has been Jeb Schwager
And Garrett Krieg
with your Marquette Sports Report.
Thanks, guys. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Marquette in Motion after the break.
Welcome back to Marquette in Motion. This week for our interview segment, Meet Marquette, Luke Keys will be here interviewing 3rd grade teacher Miss Haley Lampy.
Hi, listeners. Thanks for joining me today for the portion of our show called Meet Marquette, where each week I'll be interviewing someone different. As you remember, last week I was here with our principal, Mr. Kaiser, while this week I'll be interviewing our new 3rd grade teacher, Miss Haley Lampy. Hi, Miss Lampy. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, hi. I'm happy to be here.
Now, Miss Lampy, you are not new to the Marquette family. How did it feel to come back and teach?
It's awesome. Ever since I knew I wanted to be a teacher, I knew I wanted to come back to my school. It's really interesting seeing things from the teacher perspective now, because as a student, you didn't notice all the hard work that went in. So, yeah, it's just nice kind of seeing it from both sides.
Good. So now, what prompted you to become a teacher?
I have spent almost all of my life surrounded by kids. My mom ran a daycare from home, and so I just felt like I knew I wanted to continue with children, and school's kind of the best place to do that. And I loved like math and reading, so it just seems like a good fit.
Not a job for everyone, that's for sure. So when it comes to teaching, is there an area that you are especially passionate about? And if you are, how do you share that passion with the students?
I would say especially the reading part of it, because without reading, you can't really learn the other subjects. So I think just spreading my love of reading, always having a book in my hand, showing that it's important, just kind of reiterates that that's what gets you through school. Being a good reader is so important.
Because there's never going to be any subject where you're not going to do some reading.
Right, yeah, it's so important.
Can you tell us a little bit about your teaching philosophy? How you teach? Is there a specific way you do teach instead of others? How is it different or similar to others?
I don't really consider myself a traditional teacher. I like to let the kids move. Whatever helps them learn best works for me. So if they need to stand up and read, perfect. You don't have to sit in your desk and do worksheets all day. I like the movement and having them up at the board and kind of talking amongst each other.
So you're more personalized from what I gather. If one student in particular needs to be active to keep their mind on something, you will let them, while if someone is more traditional, like to sit in a quiet place and read and study, they can do that, and you kind of integrate all sides of it.
Yeah, it's definitely student-centered, whatever helps them learn best. It's really about them, so I kind of try to meet their needs. I kind of instruct a lot of it, but it's really them doing all the work.
Can you share any exciting lessons or routines that you've done with your 3rd graders for this year?
Sure. We actually just did a journaling prompt this morning where I put a picture on our smart board. It was a picture of a truck stuck up in a tree, and they had to write a story about the picture. And we've been talking about being fluent readers, so they got to practice reading over their journal, and then they just shared it with the class, and it was really fun seeing their different stories about the truck.
So as a teacher, you may not have a lot of time available, but what kind of activities or hobbies do you like to do when you're not teaching or planning lessons?
Sure. I do help coach the volleyball team right now. That's always been one of my other passions. I just like kind of staying active and and being outside. I love hanging out with my dogs and my family on our back patio, and that's kind of where I spend most of my time right now.
So you mentioned about how it's different seeing the student side and the teacher's side. What did you learn on the teacher's portion of teaching at Marquette that you either didn't fully appreciate or didn't know at all when you were a student here?
So it's actually kind of funny. A lot of the teachers that taught me are still here. So just like getting to talk to them about why they do certain things and, why we have dress code and certain rules like that. I feel like I can fully understand it now as a teacher. I can see that a little differently. So I think that's just the biggest difference. I kind of understand the reasons why we have this mission and why we are the way that we are, which is wonderful.
And finally, do you have any favorite Bible quote or piece of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, there's a verse from the book of John. It's about what I'm doing now you do not understand, but someday you will. And I've kind of related to this a lot throughout college, and as a first-year teacher, it's not going to be perfect all the time, so you just have to keep going and know that this is God's plan. So I look to that a lot.
Well, thank you so much for being with us here today, Miss Lampe. And thank you, listeners, for joining us for this week's Meet Marquette segment. Until next time, for Marquette in Motion, this has been Luke Keys.
Thanks, Luke. Now to round out the show, Macy and Amy will be looking ahead.
On Monday the 17th, there will be a cross-country meet at the Bellevue Golf Course starting at 4:30.
On Tuesday evening, the Marquette family and community is invited to this year's annual open house, beginning at 6:30 in the MEC.
Also on Tuesday, the 18th, there is a junior high home volleyball game beginning at 4, as well as a freshman, JV, and varsity volleyball game at Cedar Valley Christian at 5:15.
Fall play editions with our new play director, Jeff Tebby, will be held in the Media Center on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m.
On Thursday, there will be a junior high volleyball game at Lisbon, while the freshman, JV, and varsity teams will be playing here at Marquette starting at 5:15.
On Friday, seniors will partake in their annual renewal day.
On Saturday, the 15th, there is a varsity volleyball tournament at West Delaware at 10 a.m. For Marquette in Motion, this has been Amy Sieverding
and Macy Kramer.
Thanks, girls. And while the volleyball girls will be digging up balls on the court, we'll be digging up more details for you right here in the studio. Until then, for Marquette in Motion, this has been Hallie Kilberg
And Miranda Peters.
And remember, stay informed, stay involved, stay
in motion.